All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, back again, talking about real music in real time for a few real people out there just like you and just like me. All right, so David Lee Roth has weighed in on the proposed or possible Van Halen reunion or Van Halen tribute, or we can call it Van Halen without their most important player, which would be Eddie. But I've been saying for a long time now that they should do a tribute, and I'm not sure why they haven't, and this is kind of weird. Well, apparently stuff has been in the works for a long time, and former Metallica bassist Jason Newsted spilled the beans. He spilled the beans and probably isn't well liked right now by certain people within the industry. But here's what Dave had to say when asked by the Van Halen news desk to chime in on the hypothetical tour. Roth emailed the following statement. In my mind, Van Halen 4R. I know what he's saying, 4R. I think I understand what that means. Version 4, I don't know. In the age of the thing, now that's my translation. I know some of the rock websites have commented that I'm trying to avoid some kind of problem by using the term the thing, but it's become so iconic now. People will say, hey, Dave, what's going on with the thing? You haven't talked about the thing in a while. That's why I have another channel. But the problem with that channel is you still have the same problem. It's called censorship. So, yeah, but he's talking about the age of the thing. He says it's going to require two of us for every position. Get this lineup. Satriani and Lukather, Anthony and Newsted. Whoa, that's Michael Anthony, by the way. Al or Tommy Lee. Do they know about the stadium tour and how Motley Crue is about to embark on that? Maybe they're expecting the whole Motley Crue thing to crash and burn because of Vince Neil, and he's probably going to fall off a stage, or he's just not ready for prime time. But maybe he is. We'll have to see. Not sure. But Tommy Lee as a drummer replacement for Alex Van Halen. Interesting. Probably the only one who could do my job today would be Pink. Oh, man. No, there's this guy by the name of Mitch Malloy, Dave, who could easily do your job, who can hit all the notes, who can sound and look very convincing on stage, who doesn't look like a nervous wreck, all right, when he goes out on stage. I'm sorry, as much as I love Dave, the latest, and it's not just the aging thing, it's how he carries himself, the clothes he wears, the fact that I think he's more into dance music than he is rock music. And I think Mitch Malloy has been pretty consistent, you know, as a rock and roll guy. But I don't want to make this about Mitch, but the point is there are people out there who could certainly fill in for David Lee Roth. And I don't think Van Halen fans would appreciate Pink, right, filling in for David Lee Roth. But maybe, you know, I don't know. I'm just, you know, throwing it out there. But what is interesting is he says in the age of the thing, right? So even though yesterday we had a huge mandate, so now you can go on an airplane. We had a mandate fall away thanks to a judge who has a brain and understands that this is just some arbitrary thing and nobody voted on it and it's not constitutional and it's not doing any good to anybody at this point, right? But these people, they don't, and especially the rock media, they just lap this stuff up. Most of the rock media, yeah, how are you going to go out there in the age of the thing? Well, Journey's doing it right now, and they have a protocol that they follow before each gig, and it isolates everybody, and it's kind of too bad for the fans because they can't really hang out with the band at all. There's no meet and greet, and I'm sure most of these guys, not all of them, I'm not saying this about Journey, but most of these bands are probably like, great, I don't have to deal with these people, even though they just paid $300 a ticket. By the way, when I went to see Chickenfoot like 10 years ago, I hung out with everybody. We were all in the same room. I had a picture done where I stepped on Michael Anthony's leg trying to get to where I was going to be in the picture. No lie, true story. So the bottom line here is I don't think these guys are very unhappy, but my point was going to be, okay, so all of you have been to CVS multiple times, right? Or you claim that you have, and you've lectured everybody on doing this. Now, again, no mention of Sammy Hagar here. So Dave, in case you fall by the wayside, Mitch Malloy couldn't do it. Sammy Hagar couldn't do it. You'd have to obviously switch up the material and cover the Hagar era. It's interesting how Sammy and to some extent Michael, but here he does mention Michael Anthony. Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness David Lee Roth had the decency to say, okay, if it's not Jason Newsted, it needs to be Michael Anthony. I would say, and he put it in this order, Anthony first and then Newsted, in case, Michael Anthony contracts the thing. By the way, the logic that you guys have been presenting now for 2+ years is that if you do the little emperor protocol, right? The little emperor protocol, you'll be fine. And you'll just have some mild problems and then those will go away and then you'll be back at it, right? So what's the problem? Why is it like I don't want to say a death sentence because it's not here, but if it's going to happen, right, and somebody tests for it, and then, they have to go away for a while and come back, why is that the end of the tour? I don't understand it. I don't understand canceling dates. And I guess what he's saying here is in this age, now, if he was smarter, he would say, because of what the promoters want us to do, we need to have all of these people as backups, right? His backups are really, they're interesting. And it's what he says and what gets omitted. Like you're going to have Satriani and then Steve Lukather. I mean, Luke is amazing. Even though on the Toto and Journey tour, everybody says, oh, Lukather, just he's just one of those yacht rock guitar players. You guys are so dumb. Because everybody puts everything into categories. And so if Lukather played on a record that doesn't, scream or make your ears bleed, then I guess he's just a soft rock kind of guy. Lukather can shred and go against the best of them. Somebody suggested Steve Vai, since he already worked with Dave. That would probably make good sense. I would probably, no offense to Luke, but I think stylistically, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, those two would be really high on the list. Nobody's going to replace Ed. Nobody's going to replace him. You have to cope. That's what this is all about. You need someone up there to make you feel as though they made an effort to try to fill this gap. And it was a respectable effort. And in the case of any of these guys, even Steve Lukather would be fine. I know Steve and Ed were close. So yeah, that makes sense to me. But what doesn't make sense is in this age of the thing which will never go away, which we're never going to stop talking about, even though yesterday, finally, you can go on an airplane without one of those oxygen inhibitors on your face. Yeah, that's living, folks. I know people say, well, it's not responsible. You know what's really not responsible? Locking people down forever. That's not responsible. You're destroying industries. And so the concert industry has put kind of like a fail-safe built-in tripwire, whatever you want to call it, where if one guy goes down, then the tour has to postpone dates or cancel dates. And I think what Roth is saying here in his roundabout way is that, we need backups at every position in case one guy goes down. I'm thinking Pink is probably the wrong choice, like I said. Bottom line here is Dave is being weird as usual, but I think he's actually being partly honest in his weird statement here. And we'll see what happens. They're talking about this, right? So if they're talking about it, maybe, just maybe, this will actually happen. Now, again, Sammy Hagar here is the odd man out. Why would you do this without Sammy? Why would you not even talk about Sammy? I mean, I was complaining yesterday that they weren't talking about Michael. Well, they're talking about Michael. Great. Okay. But now they need to talk about Sammy. And it's good that they're not talking about Wolfgang, right? I don't look, as much as he did okay filling in for Michael Anthony, he's got his own thing now, and he's not playing any Van Halen music, and he's completely said, I'm distancing myself from that, even though he loves the band, because he went out the other day and talked about how he effing loves Van Halen. Well, great. Why don't you play a couple of songs? Maybe you'll sell a few more tickets. I don't know if I want to hear Wolfgang singing Van Halen songs. I want to hear here are my choices for vocals. Sammy first, Mitch Malloy second, David Lee Roth third. That's my choice. And if you want to bring Gary Sharon along for a laugh or two, I mean, he's a great singer, but nobody's really that concerned about having Gary there, other than he was part of, that whole Van Halen 3 fiasco. And that album is not a bad album. It's just extreme Van Halen. That's what it's not the same. It's different. It's different in kind of a good way, but it doesn't sound like Van Halen. So those are all my takes and perspectives on this. This is going to be an evolving story. The fact that Roth made this statement, and he likes to keep things very hush-hush. He did say he was all done doing his own solo gigs, which I think was a good idea. And could he be physically fit enough, because he was talking about how his doctors were saying he shouldn't do any more shows. So this is kind of weird. Are they just all paranoid because the thing might get them? Remember, if you did the other thing, Dave, you should be fine. I mean, why is everybody still so worried if this wonderful magic potion has cured and solved the problem? Yeah, it's a question that few are willing to even ask at this point. And it's very entertaining and somewhat amusing how there's an avoidance to what's really going on out there. And some of you know what's really going on out there, and I can't talk about it here, but thank goodness for alternative media sources. So anyway, the Van Halen saga continues as the Van Halen turns. It's just going to keep going like this, I think, for a while, until they finally announce that they're doing something to honor probably, I don't want to say the greatest guitar player that ever lived, but he's way up there toward the top. And something needs to give. He needs to be honored in a way that puts the focus and attention on his body of work. I think that's the most important thing in all of this, and not the soap opera or the drama of, Jason Newsted spilled the beans and we were thinking about this guy or that guy. Just get yourselves together and do it. And don't worry about the thing. Remember, you guys are all triple, quadruple boosted and all that. You guys will be great. It'll be fine. It'll be the greatest tour in the history of humanity. And people will go and pay huge sums of money to see you all. So hurry up and get your acts together and get out there on the road. All right. From the Southern Command Center, I'm Dave, and I will see you soon.